So this time we have a cube root function, but it doesn't matter. Just switch the x and the y. That's always my first step of any inverse function. Now this time, instead of it being cube or square root, it's cube root. So I'm going to cube both sides. And when I do that, that's eliminated. Y plus 1 equals x cubed. Subtract 1. Now it's f inverse of x equals x cubed minus 1. Now I'm going to fake graph it, of course. Okay. And what I'm more concerned with you seeing is if I was to fake graph the cube root, remember it does the squiggle, but the vertex is at 0, negative 1. So that's when it kind of does the bounce. And that's f inverse of x. If I was to show my reflection line, that's y equals x. And then let me graph on the calculator so you can see. I'm going to graph my original function. So delete everything I've got. You'll do this on Desmos, and then you'll practice with me. So cube root, that's the square root. So to get the cube root, I have to remember what I did. Oh yeah, you go to this button right here to the right of the 9. And if you come over here, that's the cube root option. Let me zoom it in a little bit. And then I put the little 3 in there, and then the original function is x plus 1. And it should look like a sideways squiggle. And there you go. So it's a sideways squiggle, but this time the vertex is at negative 1, 0. Okay? So if you look, there's the negative 1, 0. So that's my negative 1, that's my negative 1, and it kind of looks like a sleeping squiggle. Okay? And let me label that f of x. All right. Honestly, what's most important to me is you get the idea of that if I folded this in half, this one would be on top of this one. All right, this one's a little bit more complex because this time I have 2 x's. So I'm going to do the same thing, but this time both of the x's will turn into a y. Okay? Now, this takes a little bit of finagling. There might be a better way, but I just like to move things around. Right now the y's are on the same side, but the problem is that one's on top and one's on bottom. If I decided to simplify, and I went y divided by y is 1, and 1 divided by 1 is 1y, I could approach it that way, subtract 1, which actually might be a really good way. But what's going to work for me is I'm going to multiply both sides by y. When I do that, that's gone, and I'm left with xy equals y minus 1. Now the problem is my y's are on different sides. So I'm going to get them on the same side, and then I'm going to factor this side because they both have a y. So I just moved things around. I'm going to take out a y. If I take it out from this group, I'm left with an x. If I take it out from this group, I'm not left with anything, but you have to put an imaginary 1 there. Equals negative 1. Divide by x minus 1 because I'm trying to get y by itself. So f inverse of x equals negative 1 over x minus 1. Okay? I would like to show you another way if you would like to approach it that way. So if you are here and you would like to approach it this way, like the bunny ears, that would be y over y is 1, and 1 over y is 1 over y. Subtract 1, and you get x minus 1 equals negative 1 over y. And then I would multiply both sides by y. To me, this seems more difficult, but I want to show another way. And then it's y parentheses x minus 1. If you look, it's the same thing here. Divide by x minus 1, divide by x minus 1. There you go. I prefer the first way, honestly. But if you like the second way, that way works as well. If you have another way, great. Just don't cheat. All right, and don't worry about graphing it right now. It'll be whatever the graph says. But I will point out that they are both rational functions, and they will be inverses of each other. All right, this one. Switch the x and the y. And I'm going to do the original way that I taught you. So I'm going to move things around. I'm going to multiply both sides by y. By. The problem is my y's are on different sides, so I'm going to get them on the same side. Make sure you don't subtract the y and then make it go away at all. They both have a y, so I'll take it out. If I take out a y from here, I'm left with x. If I take out a y from here, I'm left with nothing, which means a 1. The goal is to get y by itself, so I divide by x minus 1. Now f inverse of x equals 3 over x minus 1. And those are the rest of the notes. And as I told you previously, the homework is the next page, and the answers are in Google Classroom.